Do you know your numbers? What are some great metrics for both cold calling and or open house lead generation? What's happening? I'm J.C Agajanian, broker associate with the Whissel Realty Group at eXp, and as usual, we are breaking down the Fast Forward Movements Monday Morning Mastermind, bringing you the sauce, the good tidbits from this massive group discussion that we have every week. Today, we've got some great topics to cover. First of all, numbers, metrics. What are good numbers? What are good pull-through ratios when it comes to cold calling and open houses? The next topic we covered today was generating online leads. What are some great tools in this day and age to create some great online leads? And finally, what are the best ways for you to build your personal brand? Okay, let's get into the first topic for the day, dealing with metrics surrounding two great lead generation strategies, both cold calling and open houses. There's lots of variables, right? Before we get into the details of what some good metrics are. For example, who are you cold calling? Are these old leads that you've got in your database? Are these expired leads that you're calling to try and get new listings on? Are they for sale by owners that you're trying to convert? Is this a cold circle dial? Like, how old is the data that you have, if it is one of those categories that we just talked about? And then, of course, there's like bigger variables, like how many agents are there in your market that might also be doing these dials, right? So there's lots of uncertainty that could cause the numbers to skew when you're dealing with a large mastermind like we are that is actually nationwide. We've got agents from all over the country. So we just kind of wanted to put that out there first of all and make it clear that getting a real true solid apples to apples comparison it's always going to be hard. We talked about this and we were going through it. And really one of the main points before we get into actual numbers is that more important than what the figures are is your own figures. More important to track your own numbers, establish a baseline for whatever it is that you're doing, and then work on improving those numbers, right? That's clearly the most important, and that's why you're even listening to this, is because you want to know how you stack up or how you're doing at one of these activities. Let's just do well at tracking our own information, and then we can do some testing. Maybe we can vary your lists, you can change your call times. There's lots of things you can do within your own personal activities, but instead of wondering, how do I stack up to so-and-so from across the country, let's just focus on our own figures. In addition to that variability, we've also got a drastically different market this year than we had only 6 to 12 months ago. Even if we had a really great baseline that we could all compare ourselves to, the years change frequently and quickly. So you don't always know exactly what you're comparing yourself to, which is why we say let's focus on our own figures, either yourself personally or you and your team and how your team moves as a whole. So what are we going to track? Well, we have an awesome tool at the Whissel Group called Sisu, and it tracks everything. It's not cheap though, so if you're not on a large team, you're probably not going to want to pay for it. But the big milestone figures we're looking at are where it begins, right? Conversations. So how many conversations are you having? And then out of those conversations, how many of them lead to a set appointment? Okay, makes sense. And then out of those set appointments, how many of them actually show up and are met? From those met appointments, how many of those clients actually sign with you, whether it's a buyer-broker agreement or a listing agreement. And then you want to know how many of those signed clients are going under contract, and of course, how many closings do you have? These are all really important figures for you to be aware of inside your own business. The reason being, if you have good numbers in a lot of those areas, but you happen to see one where the numbers fall off, it's going to be maybe a kink in the hose, if you will, right? Like, hey, there's a spot right there that we can work on. Maybe we don't have as many met appointments when compared to set appointments as we would like. Well, what are we doing that maybe isn't quite optimal to make sure that there's a solid, enticing draw to have this client show up, right? Maybe we need to work on that initial call. Or it could be something else in the line that we just discussed. In any case, they're hugely important figures that you can really do a deep dive and analyze your own business by just tracking what you're already doing. So now that we know where our priorities actually ought to lie, we do have some anecdotal data that we were able to collect this morning in our conversation. And for an open house metric, we had one agent that said he tracked for a year. He did roughly 30 open houses over the year. He ended up with 400 leads, but only closed roughly one sale per 100 leads, which seems extremely low. We just didn't have anybody else who had the data at their fingertips to be able to raise their hand and be able to compare and contrast. So the consensus was, something's going on there where he could probably do significantly better, or potentially he's including, Mickey Mouse at DonaldDuck.com as a lead because all these people that don't really want to give their information. Maybe that's the case, but those numbers seem off a little bit. When it comes to circle dialing, we had someone else speak up and say he's got an area that he's focusing on. It's got about 1,200 homes in it, and he's just dialing them all. It's a rough circle dial. It's not a for sale by owner list. It's not an expired list. He's just prospecting to get listings. He said he's called around 1,000 of them so far, and he's got about a 7% contact rate. So these weren't really great figures either, because we had another agent speak up and said that he got 30 contacts for every 100 dials he made. Now, we dug a little bit deeper to find out why is this contrast here? Why is one guy only got 7% and another guy getting 30? Well, we came to the conclusion that it's probably his data source. One guy was using a system called Vulcan, and another guy was using a system called Batch Dialer. Some of these just have better data, and I'll bet you the guy with the 7% contact rate has a less expensive system with the higher rate of bad information. As a side note, we've heard that Vulcan is one of the best and most reliable dialers that you can pay for, but it also happens to be one of the most expensive, so it kind of makes sense. That's pretty much all we got on the metrics, but as we said up front, more important than the actual figures we had to offer you is what's going on in your own business, and I highly encourage you to start tracking, if you're not already, all the important pieces so you can go and pinpoint what is going on in your business. Now, let's move on to generating online leads. The first example that we had was from an awesome agent who works in a vacation market. It's a ski town. It is not that far from Los Angeles, and he just started doing some direct email campaigns, but not to buyers and sellers. Actually, his campaigns are focused on other realtors. Because he's in a vacation market, he's sharing what's going on in this area that is anywhere from 1 to 3 hours from the various markets he's targeting, and he just set up a basic MailChimp campaign. He's got a list of about 10,000 realtors, and he's already started sending out pieces, basically sharing listings in the mountains. He's already generated 5 leads, and believe it or not, a lot of these agents have simply forwarded the properties to their clients instead of setting up a formal referral agreement, and they're not even taking a fee while they're at it. So he's really enjoying his online lead generation with this method that he's doing, but it is unique. Not everybody lives in a vacation market. An awesome byproduct of his campaign is that he's getting in touch with a lot of other realtors that don't live too far from him, so there's going to be a good opportunity for referral exchanges. He's also picking up a lot of follows on Instagram and other social platforms. Where did he get all this information? He just pulled a contact list from the agent roster in the California MLS. He got 20,000 names and numbers, emails, and all the information he needed. You may be thinking, what if I'm not a high-producing agent in the mountains, but I am in a vacation market and I'd love to do something just like this? Well, if you're new or just not really busy right now, just use someone else's listing, but make sure you reach out and get permission first. He's had that same thing happen to him, and he's happy to have them share his listings with more people. It's not like a big thing. Some people may be jerks about it, but most people will be happy with you sharing the information with their database. A real plug and play, simple, easy peasy way to do it is to just sign up on some of the portals. We heard some great feedback from people using realty.com, using Ojo, and some other sources that you're probably familiar with. And if you can get in and start getting assignments from these companies, it's great online lead generation right there. There's also a company that someone mentioned called the Share Group. I guess it formerly was called SmartZip, and it's got a list of various niche type of potential sellers, right? So maybe it's a divorce list or some sort of other absentee owner list, maybe trust sales, things like this. You can set up an account with the share group site. I don't know how much it costs. It seems as though it wasn't super expensive to set up an account and get going with this system, and the agent recommending it was pretty happy with his results so far. Don't forget about ZBuyer. They're still out there, they're still around, and they're basically doing a lot of the heavy lifting for you when it comes to seller lead gen. They're pretty much making cash offer advertisements online, and then they're generating the leads, and then they're handing them off to you. And that's, of course, a paid service. It's not a commission shared service like Zillow or some of the other ones. These are seller leads that are raising their hand, so we know that there's likely very solid intent if they're going to give you their name, their property address, their email, and their phone number. Like, it's probably pretty serious that they're interested in a cash offer, but as a seller lead is, there's probably also going to be a 6 to 12 month nurture cycle. So be aware of that whenever you're generating any sort of seller leads online. These unique niches and absentee owners and different types of potential lead sources are really great for right now, because we all know the move-up market is pretty dead right now. It's, you know what, I won't call it dead, but it's gridlocked because these people just don't want to move up and take rates in the 7s when they've got rates in the 3s and 4s, right? So there's a whole stack of inventory that is not moving right now because people are just not going to double, triple, or exponentially increase their payment, like the example we heard this morning, which was if someone wanted to buy the same exact home they own today that they bought just a few years ago, the payment would literally go up by 90%. It's jaw-dropping how much that discrepancy is, but it's real and is out there. So instead of wishing it were different, maybe we go after all the D's. You know, we got death, we got divorce, we got default, we've got diplomas, we've got diamonds, we've got all kinds of D's we can go after, and these are unique niches that we can focus on. Speaking about online lead gen, you knew we were going to make our way to social media at some point, and of course we did today. Get busy on social media. One tip was shared by an agent who is just showing himself doing the work, like nothing exciting, nothing amazing, like literally a post and something interesting to read of even him staring at his Zoom that we were on for the mastermind actually yielded a referral right then and there while we were talking. So just showing what you're doing, proving that you're a hard worker. It doesn't have to be glamorous, like expensive property tours, but if you are showing property, document it. You know, if you are doing an open house, document it. You know, whatever it is, if you're putting stamps on envelopes for a mail campaign, document it, right? Make 5 to 10 posts a week and you will really ramp up your referrals, because people will see that you're hustling, that you're working hard. The cool stuff like being through amazing homes or, you know, attending fun mixers is just as important as putting stamps on an envelope, showing people you're real and that you're here to help. In the same vein, of course, we're going to talk about video. You know, some great ideas are to highlight specific parts of town and just explain everything that's going on in this area as though you were talking to someone who knows nothing about that area. A total foreigner, you're just walking someone through, helping them to understand what they could do there if they wanted to live in that area, or even if they just wanted a vacation for a week or two. If you can do every single little neighborhood, town, city in the area that you cover, you will be known online as someone who is the expert in this area. Your clout will rise and you will get referrals, or you will get direct leads from these videos that you're generating. Speaking of social media, we learned about a killer Chrome extension this morning. I didn't know about it at all. It's called Friend Filter. And basically the gist of this tool is that it tells you who you're interacting with online in your social profiles and who you're not really. It points you to people that you should engage with. And it tells you who you haven't talked to in a while. And it tells you who you talk to all the time. It sounds amazing. I haven't used it yet, but you can be sure I'm going to check it out and probably implement it into my daily practice as well. Similar to neighborhood highlights, another great topic for video or social content is just to tell stories. If you got something that you might mention to your coworker when you're grabbing some water, why not pull out your phone and tell that to everybody else that's not standing there next to you? Telling stories that are going to engage with people's emotions and feelings are a great way to connect with people that you already know, and they're going to feel even closer to you as a result. Comment on social media is the social part, but not online, taking it offline. Events, parties, different things that you can do will actually help you drive more social media interaction, follows, and of course, this stuff is going to lead to business. So don't slip on meeting people face to face and driving your social interactions there, which will eventually help you generate online leads resulting in new business. That's it for our online lead talk. Let's move on to building your brand. A lot of our conversation surrounding this topic was focused on determining really what you want to be known for, right? Like, I don't know if you've ever sat down and thought about what your brand might be, or what you would want it to be, what you would want it to look like, or what you would want to be known for, but that's kind of crucial when you're talking about building a brand. Like, what do you want your name to be attached to? Is it geography? Is it a specific type of property that you sell? Is it a specific price point? Are you making it clear that you only do commercial, you only do residential, or that you do both? Or are you focused on investments and helping people build wealth? Like, what is it you want people to think when they hear your name? Once you figure that out, you have got to have a solid uniformity of message. It's hugely important. We all know that you can be a lot of things for a lot of people, but you can't be everything to everyone. So focus on your target audience. Who is your target audience? If you don't know what it is, that's a whole nother conversation. You should really just decide who it is you want to work with. Build your brand around that, and guess what? You're naturally going to get more of those clients. Are you going to be done with the entry-level, super low dollar amount first-time home buyer? No, but you will get a lot more of whatever that target audience is that you're focusing on because you've built your brand around it. Those are the people you want to serve, and you're communicating that through your uniformity of message, meaning you're sending the same message across all channels, all platforms that you're communicating with the public on. So speaking of that ideal client, who is it? Write it down. Talk through it with your partners. What is your brand aesthetic? If you're looking to sell coastal real estate, you're probably not going to have horses and equestrian type stuff in your logo, right? Like, who are your ideal clients? If we ask and answer these questions in writing and really think deeply about it, it will bring clarity to, first of all, who you would really like to see yourself working with an overwhelming majority of the time. And then you could reverse that in by building a brand around that. That's going to do it for us today. I hope, as usual, that you have found something helpful, informative, or just interesting, but more important than all that, something that you can take and implement into your business today to make a meaningful difference at your bottom line. If you'd like to talk more, I'm always available. Shoot me a message right here, and I'll talk to you soon.